Hi, this is Simon McCormack from Plexxi. In today's demo, we're going to show you how easy it is to expand a Nutanix cluster on a Plexxi network environment. You may have seen demos like this before, how easy it is to expand clusters in these environments. But what all of these demos miss is actually there's a lot of prep work on the network. There's a lot of prep work on your vCenter environment that you need to do in addition to just expanding the cluster. We're going to show you how in the Plexxi environment with Nutanix we've brought these products so close together that actually we can remove a lot of those manual steps that you would normally do on both the network and in vCenter. So let's look at our setup that we have so far. I'm actually logged into my Nutanix Prism screen, and you can see I've got 3 nodes in my cluster. My goal is to expand this cluster to a 4th node. But in addition, that 4th node is on another network segment that I'm going to also expand on the Plexxi environment and configure automatically. Let's start by just clicking on the Expand Cluster button just to show, wait for it to refresh and discover more nodes. So there's no newly discovered nodes at the moment. We obviously haven't turned the network on yet, so it's going to come very soon. Let's just show you what else we've got. These 3 Nutanix nodes are ESX servers, and the ESX servers are here, so these 3 guys. So there's the 3 CVMs on the Nutanix environment. And again, we're going to add another node. We're going to automatically populate into vCenter as well as configuring the network. Before we go too far, let's look at the network. So this is the Plexxi network that we have so far. We've already harvested data on the 3 existing ESX servers and CVMs. There's actually more than 3 ESX servers in this environment. There's some non-Nutanix ESX servers, which is why you see a lot of them. But here's the 3 Nutanix CVMs. So we're going to expand this to a 4th switch with a 4th cluster member. Normally you would obviously have a lot more Nutanix boxes on each of these switches, but for demo purposes we're just using the 4 and going from 3 to 4. Now if I also show you on the Plexxi environment how Plexxi is cabled together, so these 3 Plexxis are cabled together in a simple little fashion like this. We're actually going to add the 4th switch. We're going to break the connection, add a 4th switch. The network will then expand considerably. This is the number of paths we have between switches right now. And so when we add the 4th, it's going to automatically expand the amount of capacity that it has that it can use for network traffic. And now we're actually going to go on to hardware upstairs, and we're actually going to reconfigure the network and bring in our 4th switch, and then I'll come back in a little while with that. And now we're back after adding our 4th switch to our fabric, and we're just going to wait a moment to get a refresh as it begins to learn the new topology. You see I've already got a refresh there, and I'm going to give it a second, and then I'm going to hit refresh, and we should hopefully see the 4th switch, yes, and basically it's learned the 4th switch and it's beginning to build the cabling. In a moment it would have figured out the whole topology, and we'll see a complete view of what it is. You see, yeah, now we have 4 switches and it's complete in the fabric. We're going to actually look at the cabling and the peering links connection between them. The peering links have expanded. So you think about this, we've automatically gone from 3 switches to 4 switches, and we've expanded our capacity considerably. But also there's a bunch of configuration that needs to go on now in a typical network, enabling ports, configuring VLANs. And in this environment with Plexxi Connect, we've actually done a lot of that automatically. So we're going to look at the configuration of some of the elements that we've provisioned. Just give it a second to finish its provisioning. And then we can see what it's done. So if I go into the configuration view here, you see it's enabled a couple of the ports. This is the ones where the Nutanix is connected to. And then if we look at the VLAN assignments, we'll see that actually it's configured some VLAN groups for us that it's learned through vSphere, but also it's configured this native VLAN 3, which is where we put Nutanix on. So that enables Nutanix to now talk. So if we go back to Nutanix Prism and we do an expand of the cluster, now we should be able to hopefully see our new node. Yes, so the new node has appeared. We can select him. You see it's brought in all the IP type information from that new node that can provision onto ESX and will allow us to actually complete the expansion of the cluster. And now we're going to hit next and actually start the expansion of the cluster so that we can bring our new node in. What you normally do at this stage also is we just go to ESX now. You would actually add this host to ESX, But in this case, if we just do a refresh, you'll see that actually the host has already been added by Plexxi Connect. We'll talk about a little bit more about this later. And also on this ESX server, you'll see actually there's a CVM on this ESX server that's provisioned out of band of this. Now back to the cluster, it's still got 17%, but it should move along in a few moments, and it's expanded to 71%. And we'll just wait a couple of moments for it to complete creating the cluster. So while we wait for that to happen, let's go back to Plexxi Control as well and do a little refresh here. If you remember this view, where there was 3, now basically we've got added a new switch, and that has already learned a new CVM, and it's learned 2 new hosts, and it's basically built a new fabric together as we would expect it to. Let's go look at Nutanix again, and it's basically completed it and got to 100%. So in summary, what's happened here is obviously we've taken our 3-node Nutanix cluster, and all we've done is plug that into our Plexxi switch, and then Plexxi Connect has gone and provisioned both the network and vSphere to make this environment available so that this new cluster node can be available in the network.